Okay, we're out here working on our Torque T31 toy hauler again. The issue I'm trying to take care of today was a slow moving awning. It would roll out at the normal speed. When I go to roll it back up, it was very slow, and it would get part of the way rolled up and then it would just basically slow down to a stop. It wouldn't go. I'd have to roll it by hand while somebody else was holding the button for me. So after doing some searches on YouTube and some internet research, come to find out that the culprit's more than likely the little motor right here in the end. So there was 5 screws. Mine just had 5 screws in it holding this cover on. You see the 5 here. Mine had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one didn't have a screw in it, but I may find a screw to go back in that spot. So I took those 5 screws off, and the cover comes off, exposing the motor and stuff. And then there's 2 more screws right here on the back, here and here, to allow the back cover to come off. And we see the motor. I got my replacement motor on Amazon. The original motor didn't have the place right here, but the cover, see the little bump out place on the cover? It's a little plug that comes off and allows you to access on this motor at the bottom there, a little bolt in case someone needs to manually roll it in at some point if they have a future motor failure. So motor fails in the future, pull the plug out, put an impact with that size socket on it, and roll it on in. So I'm going to now cut these 2 wires loose, put some, let's see, this motor came with female connectors. I guess I'll put some male connectors on this side, just crimp them on, put it together and see what we got. Just a quick note, before you take that motor off and unbolt it, be sure and either have your awning all the way extended, fully extended, or put a ratchet strap or something on to keep it from going out, because when I took my old motor loose, evidently it has some tension in it from the weight of this arm out here, and when I took the motor loose, when it disengaged the gears on the motor from the gears on the shaft, it came flying out on me. So you'll want to either have it fully extended or blocked from motion before you take that motor loose. One other quick note, I got this replacement motor on Amazon. I'm going to, of course, this is where the old motor connected, and then it has a pull apart disconnect here. I'm going to leave this in and just cut above and put the connectors on, like I said, to connect it. That way I've got 2 ways of disconnecting the motor in the future. If I end up having to replace the motor again, it should be a direct swap at that point, because I'll probably get the same thing. But I did want to leave the factory connector also. So I'll get this finished up. Okay, so we're still working on my Torque T31. The awning issue, slow rolling up, all the way to a point where it stops rolling up or won't roll up. Replaced the motor inside that little housing right there, and still had the same issue. So evidently I needed to do a little more diagnostic checks before I start replacing parts. So that led me to starting to check the wiring back to the control panel, which in doing so I found something else a little bit disturbing. So where my wires penetrated through this wall here, of course I make a pretty good sized penetration there. That wasn't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was, you see that little plastic cover. I had a plastic cover on this section down here as well. And at the base here where the wires went through, it had a lump of silicone caulk kind of stuff. You can see where it was like covering this, and then the plastic pieces kind of formed to the plastic piece was on top of it. Well, inherently what happens, water runs down behind that plastic piece, gathers up right on top of here. Because this was completely blocked with the silicone, it just built up behind it and would ease its way down into the wall. I noticed that the wall was a little bit wet back in here, so I'm going to be using a blow dryer or something to try to dry this out before I seal it back up. When I do seal it back up and put that plastic piece back on, I'm gonna make sure and put a bead of silicone along at the top of it also to seal it off. So any water that runs down will run on the outside of it instead of becoming trapped in behind. Okay, so still haven't found the problem with my awning, but at this point, I found that problem and I'm gonna take care of it too. I decided to go to the control panel and pull it out, see if I had any loose connections or anything of the sort on the back side of the switch right here. That's my awning switch. Extend and retract. Something else I noticed is kind of interesting. This is the size wires going out to the awning motor. Look to be about like a 14 gauge or so. And then the wires coming to the switch to supply it look to be about a 16, maybe an 18 gauge. It seems a little counterproductive to me. The fact that you've got a smaller wire feeding a bigger wire. Yeah, it's not going to get the current through that small wire that you would expect the big wire to pull. But that's not really the issue either. I did find that when I bypass everything upstream of the switch and just connect directly to the wires, that the awning works rather well. Can I tag these here and you'll see it rolling out good. We'll roll it all the way out. If I can keep contact with one end and hold the phone with the other. Okay, so we're fully extended. I'm going to switch these two wires around the polarity. I'm going to try to keep the phone on it while I hold it with my chin and switch these wires. So, that may not work. Okay, I made the switch. So now, I'm going to plug this wire directly into this other side. I've switched them out, reversed the polarity, so the motor should roll back in now. Try to hold this thing again while I do this. Okay. So the awning's rolling up. Granted, it's not moving fast as it does going out, but that's to be expected because I believe that thing's spring loaded. So it's having to overpower the spring instead of the spring to assist it. But that is a world better than it was before. Which is leading me to believe that my issue is on this switch panel somewhere and possibly not getting, I'm gonna pull it loose real quick, not getting enough current either through the switch or through these wires. So that's where my diagnostic's taking me at this point, folks. I don't think I reversed the polarity at the motor at one point with the old motor, and the extend became the retract became the extend, and the situation remained on retract. So I don't think that's the problem. Anyhow, more to this. I'm going to keep diagnosing. Okay, so I've been fooling around with the wires and stuff, tracing some things out here. What a stinking rat's nest. Terrible, terrible job wiring. Stuff dead-ended. No idea if it's got power on it or not. Wire nutted just slammed back in here. It's just terrible. I'm not very impressed anymore. I did like this camper, but I mean, how much more effort would it take? You've got some connections here. Let's see, where was the one I saw? I saw some with wires, little stray wires hanging out of the end of them. These two in the middle here, let's see right there. This was the water heater connection. This one was laid over on top of the other one. Looked like they're starting to get hot together with each other. Just not very impressive. So anyhow, at this point, from fooling around with it, I got to the point now where it'll roll back in on its own without any help. The issue is I don't know what I did to fix it, and so I don't consider the problem fixed. All I did was basically wiggle some wires around. So that tells me that something in this mess is not getting a good connection. And by wiggling around, evidently I've helped the connection out. So I came over to the inverter and the breaker box to kind of get a look in here and see if there's anything I can do to rectify the situation, maybe get a better ground out there. And this is a mess. I wouldn't have a person to wire this wire anything for me, but it is what it is. Maybe at some point in the future I can straighten all this out. Anyhow, it seems to be fixed at the moment. Don't know what I did to fix it. All I can assume is it was a loose wire. Like I said, a bad connection, and just by wiggling things around, we've tightened it up. Maybe it'll show itself again and we'll actually find a solution. Till next time, thanks for watching.